Now, there are many bikes that can be called classic, but few that can be called revolutionary. This, however, is one of them. It's the latest model, but the first version appeared 28 years ago.
So let me take you back to 1992. That was the year where John Major was in power with the Conservatives. A bloke called Johnny Bryant sucked some royal toes. And Right Said Fred had a #1 with I'm Too Sexy. Talking about sexy, the cool bikes of that year were the FZR1000 Yamaha and the GSXR Suzuki 1100. But Honda were going to come out with a game changer.
Watch closely, because you're about to become part of motorcycle history.
That game changer was the CBR1000RR, otherwise known as the Honda FireBlade.
Well, the FireBlade was to become, obviously, an icon. But how did it all start? Well, it all started because of one man, and that man was called Baba-san.
Baba-san, or to give him his full name, Tadao Baba, worked in Honda's R&D department for 40 years. He realised that sports bikes of the late 80s, like the Suzuki GSX and the Yamaha FZR, were very heavy and not great on cornering. The FireBlade was his response, a compact bike to take on all comers.
Here, right, FireBlade, the capital B, is for Baba-san, yeah, in homage to the lad who created it. How cool is that? The key to the FireBlade was how light it was and how agile it was, rather than concentrating on huge power like its competitors. So even look here on the belly pan, they even drilled holes here for a bit of weight saving, and also here on the top of the fairing. But the key was it combined beautifully the agility of the handling, the lightness, and the power it had, was plenty enough.
Since its launch in 1992, the FireBlade has had more updates than my mobile phone, but the latest is something really special.
28 years later, this is the latest incarnation.
This is the 2020 CBR1000RR. It was launched in January this year in Qatar, just before you know what. But it's in the shops and on the racetrack right now. To tell me all about it, I've got Javier Beltran, the manager of Honda's BSB team.
Do you know what's really weird, man? Is it looks, there's 28 years. And it kind of looks similar, doesn't it? Perhaps Baba-san got it right first time.
There's so much history, and you look at the bike that we have here today, 2020 model, incredible. Just look at the winglets and look at all the aero design on the front of the machine.
I've got to tell you, immediately, you look at a Honda, don't you? And you just think build quality. Just standing here looking at it, oh my God, look at that kind of iridescent blue. The paint quality's gorgeous. The thing that I love about detail, right, is just look at that hugger, yeah? Just look at the design in this area. Look at the tailpiece, man. How many meetings went into that tailpiece, huh?
The engine, now 1000cc, can pump out 215 brake horsepower. That's almost double the original FireBlade. In a moment, I'm going to try it out, but first, just to get me in the mood, Javier's going to let me ride the original. This bike is everything I remember it to be. Amazingly compact, totally flickable, and just so quick.
It is amazing. 28 years on. fantastic. You can immediately feel why it was such a success. The lightness and the agility of it, even at like 60 now. You just feel it, you're at one with the bike, you know? What a lovely thing. Hey! Very few times that a motorcycle actually brings a tear to my eye, and I think that's because this bike is commensurate for an era where I just immerse myself in these kind of motorcycles. I was young enough to have the reaction time, you know what I mean? And I felt comfortable sitting in this bike rather than the countless other bikes since then that I've ridden that I'm sitting on, right? I don't feel as though I'm engaged with it. This FireBlade engages me. It brings it all back to an era where we didn't give a monkeys, did we? Hey, you know, I was a lippy little toe rag back then, and I'm proud of that. But please, man, this bike, to me anyway, is the utopia. How can the new bike better this?
If the original was quick, then this one's even quicker, capable of getting up to a staggering 186 miles an hour. I'm on the top of the range SP model, which comes with Öhlins' latest smart suspension, Brembo brakes, and more electro trickery than Bill Gates' toothbrush. Javier is riding shotgun, obviously checking out whether he could recruit me for this year's BSB team. In fact, I'll have to admit, this bike is slightly above my pay grade, so I'll stay in third gear. Everything about it, from the electronic screen to the highly tuned engine, requires total concentration and lightning quick responses. Nevertheless, what's amazing is how well mannered it is at slow speeds, though you can tell this bike is desperate for a track.
That thing is something else. But what's so important about that bike to me, rather like the history of this one 28 years before, is that yes, it's a race bike, but actually I feel perfectly at home on an open road with it as a road bike, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Was that meant to happen or not really?
Yeah, for sure. That's the whole idea, that, you know, the machine is designed and built for the road and obviously to take to the race, but it has to have that crossover.
Because the other thing is, what I love ergonomically with it, or whatever it's called, ergonomically, is that the right way of saying it? Ergonomically or aerodynamically, is that at slower speed, you actually, you know, aren't putting all the weight on your wrists. Strangely, you are a little bit with this one, but at the same time, you know, I just feel as though I could ride down to the south of France on that, you know, and even at my venerable age, I'm not going to be tired from it. You're going to be exhilarated, but you know, because normally when you see a bike like that, you think, cool, blimey. Yeah.
The aero on there is phenomenal. On acceleration, it feels very, very stable. On braking and de-acceleration, again, it feels very stable. And again, it takes away all of that hard work, if you like, in the arms and everything else. It just encourages you to sort of ride smooth and be smooth.
Well, they are an iconic lineage. So look, right, if you want to go retrospective, if you want to go back to your youth, get yourself a 92 FireBlade. If you want to go to another planet, check one of those out.
Meanwhile, back in the shed, Alan has fitted spacers and we're ready for the next stage.
Would you feast your eyes on that, eh? So look, right, we've got a new tombstone rear light at the back, yeah? Plus we've retained the old mudguard, but we have obviously nickel plated it but the sissy bar is where it's at. Now, whether this actually will hit the ceiling when we put it on, we might have to lower the bench, the jury's out. Hey, so Millie, should we just slide this in?
Yeah.
If you'll remember, Millie had to build a sissy bar while the frame was at the painters, so there's a little bit of fiddling and faddling, but it goes in.
Hey, look, looking forward to seeing Sammy a little bit later on, and we'll get the front end in. But before that, once we've got this in